this is Roan, and today we're going to be doing the part 2 in this Getting Started series for World of Warcraft. We are going to be talking a bit about realm selection and character creation. This will be a high-level overview of the character creation interface and an introduction to some of the more important aspects of choosing your first character. The first thing we need to cover when we talk about creating your character is choosing a realm or server. When you log into the game for the first time, you will automatically be brought to the character creation interface. The game will have you set up on a new player realm. While you can choose to make a character here, I highly recommend you at least look at the other options. To do this, we are going to click back on the lower left corner of the screen. This will take us right back to the realm selection interface. If you have a friend that plays on a specific realm, you can choose that realm on this screen. However, if you don't have a realm in mind already, let's talk about some of the different options. One aspect of realm selection is to keep in mind is the time zones. Different realms are set to different time zones. This really only becomes important when you want to coordinate time with other players. For example, if you decide to join a guild or a raid group that starts playing at 8 p.m. server time on a US Pacific time zone realm, but you live on the East Coast, this might be a late night for you. I have put a link in the description to a website that lists the time zones for each realm. I recommend taking a moment to look at that site and decide which time zone best fits your availability to play, and choose your realm with that in mind. Another thing to consider when choosing a realm is realm type. When it comes to realm type, there are two basic options: normal and RP, also known as roleplay realms. This is very straightforward. A normal realm is the most common and is meant for a playstyle that is focused on game progression, player versus environment, or player versus player gameplay. Where RP realms typically have a higher emphasis on roleplay and embracing the fantasy of being the character you play as. Both realm types give you the full game experience, so just choose the one that best fits your playstyle. Next, we need to talk about realm population, which is listed here on the right side of the menu. Population of a realm has become less important with the addition of cross-realm play, but it is still something that should be considered when you create your first character. Realm population is broken down into these categories: new player, low, medium, high, and full. This seems pretty straightforward, but it does have some possible impacts you need to know about. You might be tempted to make your character on a full realm so you can be around the most players possible. That is understandable, but keep in mind that if you play on a full realm, it is possible that during high traffic times on the game, you could end up with a wait time to log in. If you choose this realm type, the game will even give you a warning about this. For new players, I recommend choosing a new player or medium to high population realm. A new player realm is designed to give new players a better environment for learning to play, while the medium to high population realms give players a large server population with a significantly reduced risk of wait times. For this guide, I'm going to choose a new player realm, but the realm you choose should reflect how you want to play the game and support your desired playstyle. Now that we have chosen our realm, it is time for one of my favorite parts of World of Warcraft: creating a new character. As we get into this part of the video, I want to caveat everything I'm about to say with a single overarching point. This is your character. Customize your character the way you want and play the way that makes you happy. There are tons of options, advantages, and disadvantages that could be considered, but most of these options only become significantly impactful for top-tier players, so just enjoy the game your way. With that said, let's get into some of the details of character creations. The character creation interface has a few primary choices you will need to make right off the bat. From this screen, you will choose body type, race, and class. The body type selection is in the upper middle of the screen and is at no point in the current version of the game set in stone. Regardless of which body type you choose, you can change this option in-game at a barbershop, along with several of the other customization options we will cover later. Class and race selection are a bit more complicated and linked in various ways. This is due to the fact that not all classes are playable by all races. At this point, you will need to decide which is more important to you and your playstyle. If you want to play a specific race, you will need to choose a class that is available to that race. Likewise, if you want to play a specific class, you will need to choose a race that can play that class. As you can see, I have selected Night Elf, which is an alliance race that can play any class that is not grayed out at the bottom of the screen. If we choose Human, also an alliance race, you can see there are different playable classes. Similar to how we click a race and see what classes are available, we can see what races are able to play a specific class by hovering over that class when it is grayed out. I have clicked on Night Elf again, and you can see that Paladin is now grayed out. If I hover over this class option, each race that has a Paladin as an available class will flash around the icon. Now that we have covered some of the basics of this interface, let's get into some more detail about class and race options. For most classes, there will be several different optional races, and this opens up a few other items we need to cover. The first and most obvious is faction. In World of Warcraft, there are two playable factions, the Horde and the Alliance. Each has different races and lore that add a lot to the immersion of the game. For the sake of this guide, when it comes to faction, simply choose the one you like the most. Another item you may want to take note of when choosing your class-race combo is racial abilities. While this is most impactful at the highest tiers of the game, it can add value to your gameplay. Each race has a set of abilities that is unique to that race. To see these racial abilities, all you need to do is mouse over and right-click the icon for that race. As an example, you can see that Taurens have critical strike bonus increase, an herbalism skill increase, a stamina increase, a reduction in nature damage taken, and they also get an ability called War Stomp, which stuns up to 5 enemies within 8 yards for 2 seconds. All of these abilities could come in handy if leveraged during your gameplay. I recommend taking some time to review these abilities for each race, especially if you are on the fence about which race you want to play. These abilities could help you decide. The last thing we're going to cover on this screen is class choices. The class you choose depends completely on your preference and the way you want to play the game. Classes have different playstyles and abilities that make them ideal for a large variety of playstyles. For this guide, we are going to break the classes down into 4 playstyles or roles. Some classes offer specializations that allow you to fill different roles with a single class. The roles we are going to talk about are Tank, Healer, Ranged DPS, and Melee DPS. A tank's role is to protect other players from being attacked so they have higher amounts of health and have spells or abilities that help them mitigate the damage they receive. They are often the leaders of group activities such as raid and dungeons. Tanks are always in demand, so finding groups to play with is much easier. A healer is exactly what it sounds like. Classes with healer specializations directly heal other players and mitigate incoming damage. Healers are also normally in high demand in group play, so choosing this role could reduce the amount of time you spend looking for a group. Ranged DPS and Melee DPS are 2 forms of damage class roles, whose primary focus is inflicting damage on the enemy. Melee DPS roles do this damage at close range with melee weapons like swords and maces, while ranged DPS primarily attack from a distance using spells or ranged weapons like a bow or crossbow. Even though choosing a DPS role can increase the amount of time it takes to find a group, it is an enjoyable way to play nonetheless. As a final note about classes, if you are still unsure if you want to play a specific class, you can always do a class trial. By selecting this option, you can play a specific class for 3 hours and see if you like it. Once that time limit has been reached, you can choose to keep the character by using a character boost, which is purchasable from the game shop. However, I recommend if you like the class, simply delete the class trial character and build a new one of the same class and start fresh. The primary reason I make this recommendation is that you will learn to play the class much better if you level it versus buying the boost. So once you have selected the body type, race, and class you want to play, it is time to begin customization. Each race has a ton of options to choose from to help make your character your own. There are options for different hairstyle, hair color, and all the way down to the type of jewelry your character wears. These customizations can be changed in-game at a barbershop, so don't worry too much about it. Just make your character look the way you want, since it has no impact on your character's ability. The last thing we need to complete our character creation is a good name. Some people prefer funny names, while others will use a more serious roleplay name like the one I have chosen here. This is an entirely personal decision, but there are some things to be aware of. Names are unique per realm, which means on higher population realms, it can be hard to get the specific name you want. Also note that some names will be restricted based on inappropriate language filters or other predefined limits set by Blizzard. You will know if a name is usable for your character if you see a green checkmark to the right of your selected name. If you see a red X, you will need to try a different name. Once you are ready, just click Finish to complete the character creation. You will be prompted to choose a starting area. The options are Exile's Reach, which is the newest consolidated starting area, or the Legacy starting area for your chosen race. Both options are great fun, but for a new player, I do recommend choosing Exile's Reach. This zone does a great job of teaching you not only basic class gameplay, but also important game mechanics and features. Your brand new character is now ready to start adventuring through Azeroth. Thank you so much for tuning into part 2 of this Getting Started guide. See y'all next time.